actual with the beginning of the packing and like the
Yeah.
real packing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That was pretty, like, to have a visual that profound, because we started packing some stuff, and I was always resistant towards packing the stuff on the wall because I was like, well, first of all, I was like, I like to look at it. And I was like, secondly, it's not really taking up space. It's literally on a wall. But the power behind, like, not seeing anything, even no joke, my 11-year-old, he calls his friends over to like open the door to look at the bare walls. He's like, look it. And I think even to him, literally, he's like, look through the door because I was on a call. He's like, look through the window. But I think even to him, and I hadn't said this to him, but I think because he's intuitive as well, like I think for him it's also signifying that it's real.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're like, oh my God, look at the wall. Like there's nothing on the walls. And his friends are like, okay. But yeah, I
Oh.
think, yeah. They're like, it's a
Yeah.
wall. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
uh I just had like a flood of things go through my head and I'm like, all right, slow down.
I know. Me too.
But it's like that change in the 3D because you know how up until like even like for myself and I know that you said it too, there was no real changes that it felt like in the 3D.
Hmm.
And now there is. And I don't know. And like I don't even like looking around, just the whole world looks different to me. Like it's a really interesting, like my energy even feels really interesting right now. Um so yesterday, okay, I'll back up a little bit. So the guy that the Mike, actually, okay, we'll talk about that after. Um, I just want to set him up being able to join the book club in Yuki's group, but we can talk about that after. So I was working with his daughter, and we just did like a reading, and we did a timeline therapy work, and at the end of the call, I was like, "I'll pull you a card," and she's like, "Oh, I'd love that." So I was called to pull it from my spiritual deck, and a spiritual guidance deck. It's like the white light oracle, and
Hmm.
I pull out the spirit owl, or yeah, spirit owl, and it has a frequency with it, which I can't remember off the top of my head. And I drew the card, I took pictures of it, sent it all to her because her phone died right at the end of the call. And
Hmm.
so I I was like in the midst of doing the recode with her. So I finished the recode because I always do. And like as soon as we're connected, it'll go through time and space. You don't have to hear everything that I'm saying. It's all going to take its effect as long as the permission is given and we've made the agreement.
Yeah.
So I finished what I was doing with her and pulled the card. And so I sent her pictures of the card and pictures of the meaning of the card. And she goes, "Oh my God, that resonates so much." So this was a week and a half ish ago, I would
Hmm.
say now. Whenever I pull cards, whenever I give messages, generally the messages aren't for me. So my they come through your guides, they come through my guides, it just all the information pours out of me. Most of the time I'm not even aware of the words coming out of my mouth. I just allow everything to
Yeah.
run through me. I'm a channel. I'm an open channel for the information that needs to go to the person that's receiving it. So fast forward to yesterday. All right. So I got my two new decks here. I'm the Sacred
Oh, I
Forest
love it. Yeah.
and the Dragons. Okay.
Nice. Hmm.
Love them, absolutely. Like I've head over heel for all my decks at this point, like just absolutely astounded. So I had kind of I well as soon as I got them, and the one thing I love about the Sacred Forest, I've only been through two. I went through the two meditations for the first two cards that came out, which I will get to, and but I'm gonna do all of the meditations. That's the first deck I've
Hmm.
ever had that actually was like, here, sign up here and get all the meditations. Sick, I'm on it. Do that, and they're just short little 8-9 minute meditations, and
Hmm.
even in the meditation, like it doesn't feel like you're in there for like 9 minutes. It's really interesting. I've loved it so far. And but I hadn't even done the meditations yet, so I had just been reading and looking, and just I touched each of the cards because they say to get to know your decks. So I always touch
Hmm.
each of the
Hmm.
card and just kind of sit with that for a second and allow whatever feeling to kind of wash over me.
Yeah.
So I get home and I was reading her messages, and she's like, "Oh, she sends me a picture of an owl that she did in like that carpet stuff. And instantly I like, okay, so hey Brandon, Penny, he's ignoring me. So it's like um a pastime, a hobby that you
Oh,
can
like
do.
latch hook?
Yeah, yeah, that's
We
it.
have like a little thing, you pull it through, but it's like little
Yeah,
fibers.
it looked like a little carpet.
Yes, I
But
used
when
to love doing that. Okay, yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
mom too. Okay, so we're on the same page. I couldn't think of what
Yeah,
it's called. I know he Googled it for me earlier. It's all good.
yeah, it's
You know what
called
I'm
latch
talking
hook. Yeah.
about. Okay, latch it. So, and she sends a picture and it's of an owl. And I'm like,
Mhm.
may I ask what made you send that to me? Because instantly, like, I had a wave of my grandma being with me,
Yeah.
speaking of ancestors, right? Like,
Wow.
and today, and like the synchronicities are just outrageous. I've stopped even counting at this point because my mind is just like, Jesus,
Right.
this, Jesus, that, wow,
Yep.
this, wow, that, right? So,
Hmm.
anyway, I instantly felt like my grandma, but I knew there was more. And I was like, can you tell me what made you send that to me? And she goes, I wanted to show you that I was paying attention and that I really am working to make my life better. And I was like, oh, touch my soul. And she
Hmm.
goes, and I'm looking forward to working so much more with you. And I said, okay. And she goes, but it was based on the card that you pulled. And I was like, okay, well, that sound ridiculous because I'm like, I never really told her about that being part of like my gift, that even though like she wasn't even present for me pulling the card was for her. There's no like, if I mean, and my higher self would have just cleared whatever matching energies there was for me with her. And because that's how I've to kind of designed my own gifts, and not by, and by design that comes from my original teacher who taught me how to access my gifts and so on. Um so I just naturally meditate and make sure that, like, set my intentions even here as to whatever information needs to come out comes out, whatever mirroring energy gets cleared. So I'm like, I never told her that I wouldn't remember a week later what card I sent her. And yes, I could
Yeah.
have like scrolled up, but it didn't even cross my mind that this was to do with the card. I just knew that there was more than just like my grandma being like, ooh, tingles here.
Yeah.
And so I message her and I explain, I'm like, I'm not like, I'm not, my memory is good again. I'm like, but a message for you is a message for you. It's not necessarily going to stay with me. So thank you for reminding me that that was the card that I pulled for you. And that's amazing. And I love that you're sitting with this and that we're going to go forward. And so no word, I decide to, I was already like, as I was messaging her, I was just playing with the sacred forest deck, and I was just shuffling. I wasn't really paying attention, and two cards pop out: the spirit owl and Pegasus. And I
Wow.
was like,
Yeah.
you can't make this shit up.
I love
You
it.
know?
I love it.
And so then I decide, so then we laugh. I send her a picture. I was like, look at my new deck, look what just came out. Like, I don't even know what to say at this point except wow. And
Hmm.
she's just like, wow. I'm like, right? I'm like, yeah, there's like no question in my mind that like owl is coming forth for you and for me, but like instant, like that instant reconnect. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm like, you have an owl guide. This owl is yours. And and then the Pegasus was mine, which was carrying you forward in your spiritual gifts and alignment. And I was like, sick, I need that. And so I decided to play with the dragon deck. And I start shoveling, 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 shoveling. No card would pop out. So I finished shoveling, flip the top card. It's Fire Dragon. And I'm like, cool. But I don't go to the page to read about the Fire Dragon. I start reading from the front of the book. And I get to
Hmm.
the part where she says that when you were born, so she talks about how the dragons and unicorns and guardian angels, I believe it is, are all on the same frequency.
Hmm.
Okay. So I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I can feel that. That would make sense why can't always tell the difference between my angels. And it might be archangels. It might not be guardian. It might be archangels. But regardless, or all the angels, I'm not even sure. I don't think they actually operate on different frequencies between them. Well, they might be slightly different. I'm not really sure actually on those two. Regardless, whichever angels have the dragons, I can never differentiate in my head between a dragon and the angels unless they actually like show me form. Otherwise,
Hmm.
like the colors are generally fairly similar, just maybe a little bit of off shades. So I mean, and it's something that I've been working with within myself on differentiating with my guides. But generally, they'll say something that really like sends me in the direction of which one it is when I need to know.
Mm-hmm.
However, so she's talking about what we have for that we are born with a dragon that as our guardian. So it's like we have a positive angel, a negative angel,
Yeah. Yeah.
opposite polarity angel, um,
Mm-hmm.
and a dragon, and multiple other guys that are like, right there as soon as we're born. Like a lot of time our ancestors are right with us right from the start, but our dragons go lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. They've always been with us. So a lot of times I guess we are born in the same sign or element or whatever, and so um you will keep your dragon throughout. But then if there is the odd experience where people are born into different elements in different lifetimes, in which case their dragon will remain the same, but it will have the element, it will carry the element of which you were born into.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of course a fire sign. And I'm like, okay, that resonates. Like that makes sense. Okay. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
First card I pull from the dragons is my dragon, the fire sign. And the request was to invite him in because I've worked with the purple dragon, I've worked with the golden dragons, um, and stuff like that. Like through my teacher, she holds a lot of like activations on the different frequencies, and dragons are one of her favorite guides. So if you feel called to work with them, you can call them in to work with you, and that's how all guides are, when used, in a way that elevates. Because I mean, there's people that generally leave their life to the gods, leave their life to their guides. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing, you're my guide, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
But if you're not embracing your own power when you do that, and you kind of make yourself a puppet at that point. So if you invite a guide without knowing who that guide is and be like, oh, guide me in my life, tell me what to do, and
Yeah.
they're going to take you down all sorts of paths that are going to benefit whatever, like if they get if they get to kind of like flex their muscles, they're like, oh, I want to see this, ooh, I want to see that, like let's see what we can make this human do. And I've witnessed it. I've witnessed it even within my own life when I was a lot younger and like way earlier, before I ever actually understood a lot of what I know today. So
Mm-hmm.
so I was kind of like really enthralled with that, just how the first two pulls of those decks went for me. And
Wow.
today I was doing some work, and all of a sudden, and we were talking about like the fire sign pulling the first fire dragon, and then talking about their sign, and it was a water sign. And I was like, cool. So I'm shuffling the deck, and 5 cards shoot out. And I'm like, okay. So I start sorting through the cards because I'm expecting her water dragon to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, there's no water dragon out. And I'm like, okay. So the first intuition in my head was look through the deck to find the water dragon. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. So I'm going, and they're like, no, you know what? First, look at the bottom of the deck. So I
Mm-hmm.
flip to the bottom of the deck, and it's a card with both the water and the fire dragon together. It's the water and fire dragon. Okay.
Wow.
So then they're like, now go look for the water dragon. So I finish my swipe through the deck, right dead center of the deck together is the
Wow.
fire dragon and the water dragon.
Wow.
And I'm like, you can't make this shit up.
Wow. That's amazing.
Right.
That's
So
amazing.
that was how today has kind of went. And I woke up this morning with like I even said to you yesterday in one of the messages, is like the level of confidence. And then
Mhm.
in Shannon, in talking about, because I've been doing a lot of work, like, and I don't know if you noticed, but like I guess I can't really show you. But this is the in one of the books I was reading, they said hold your thumbs, like kind of start in a prayer, and then turn
Mhm.
your hands down so it looks like this, and having your
Mhm.
thumbs at your sacral and your fingertips at, or your thumbs at your, sorry, at your solar plexus and your fingers at your
Yeah.
sacral. Yeah, in a diamond. And so it starts like a prayer at your heart, and then you turn it and hold it at your solar plexus down to your sacral. So that was what I was holding when we were doing the cleansing with the, and actually it felt very, very strong. And I feel like that's the energy that I'm kind of sitting in now, which is really neat. I like it. But
Yeah.
but that's what I've been to spin my solar plexus and get my solar plexus, like recognizing that that's where our manifestations are formed, and our confidence is in that whole center space,
Hmm.
and like the confidence level of me today, even from 3 days ago, almost feels unreal even to me.
Wow. Yeah.
um it, you
And,
know,
and
it's like you when you find the right questions to ask, and sometimes, and for me I guess it was like a whole string of like wrong questions, but you can't, there's no wrong questions, like
yeah.
all the questions are right, but when you like, and you know, and your guides are kind of guiding you into which questions to ask, but it was like you know, like I felt stagnant again for a while there, like I'm like I felt like I'd progressed like super far and everything was rolling really good, and then I'm like I don't know what's not going on, you know, like I don't know what's not happening.
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
um and then all of a sudden I'm reading the Kabbalion, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I found that that was down my rabbit hole of thought,
Yeah.
and that had me just like really going deep with a lot of different things, and I think that was actually the book that brought me that hand one too.
Mm.
And and then The Master Key of Success by Charles Hammond. And like and I really this morning and last night sat with in cause and effect. That has really been like where I've been um drawn to kind of sit, is understanding, because I understand the law of attraction. I
Hmm.
understand the law of polarity, but I wasn't really understanding the law of cause and effect.
Mm.
And I can't, and so in understanding the law of cause and effect, they have in the book by Charles Hannell, it has you disassembling the effect of a cause. So he starts with like a ship, you know, a warship. And so what needed to be, so first of all, like tearing it down, putting it in its state back to just metal and wires and whatever else comes in a warship, and you know, starting at it completely built and then just disassembling it, and not, and then going down to where it was needed to be engineered, and then going back further, and the purpose behind needing an engineer to create it, and then the understanding of the law that says that water displaced by a certain amount of size with any material can float, and what all needed to be discovered before the true effect of that ship being built took place.
Mm.
And
Wow.
so I sat in my meditation space, which was interesting that Yuki started talking about being in the silence, sitting up
Mhm.
during meditation, stuff I've never heard him say before, and things that I've
Yeah.
legit just been doing for 3 days.
Yep. Yep.
And it's made such a huge and profound change. Like, yeah.
100%. I think that's really powerful. Yeah, law and cause and effect. It's interesting. Um, because we always think that it's something else, right? Like outside. Um, and I think it's really like integrating it into like your daily life. Integration has been like a word now for a little while for me. I think I've already literally typed it like 3 times today to somebody at some point. Um, because you hear this even for people that are not in this material, cause and effect, right? But you think like, okay, I throw the ball, like in like what you can see with your eyes. You know what I mean? Like I throw the ball, it's gonna go this way or whatever. Um, but really understanding it from like a law of attraction point of view. I mean, it obviously works that way with that stuff as well, but yeah.
And I think it was you know, because you're the and the cause of, and this is kind of just like a shot through me like an arrow. It's like your cause and effect was literally of the baseball, the momentum, what happens when it leaves your hand. But take that, reverse it, and say the ball is designed as a ball. Disassemble that ball. What did you need to create that ball? And now that the ball is disassembled, what brought somebody to the ingenuitive, or the thinking that this ball needed to exist.
Mm,
And what was the original design of the ball, and what was
yeah.
the cause behind the actual creation of the ball.
Wow.
And um yeah, yeah, wow, right? Like,
Wow. That's really cool. I really
yeah,
like.
yeah, that's where my brain has been today. I have disassembled everything, I think, that I've looked at today.
Wow. Oh no, where'd my paper go? I had, oh, it's on the floor. I did, because I went through some, I don't like labeling it, but some, kind of like feelings around like, how am I gonna tell people, give people these, guide them on certain things, but yet I was not guiding myself, right? I kind of went through some of this. And so, um, like I had to, speaking of silence, I sat for like, I don't know, 2.5 hours. Cause usually I wake up and I'll do like my morning stuff, even if it's like meditative, but like with music, with a guide, of some sort. And so I took, well, one, I took Yuki's advice on the silence part, but then also when he said, I like waking up to a blank sheet of paper. And I
Mhm.
was like, ooh, because I love his metaphor in terms of like the unknown being a blank sheet of paper. Because he's like, then what? You can create whatever you want. So I was like, that was really powerful. So, I just sat and I was kind of just like guided to, I wrote down my dream because I'm like, I want to get that out first before I forget. But then, yeah, just sitting quietly, like no music, no, nothing. Um, and then I just started writing, and it was literally, I just said like, what's the message that I need to hear today? And so then I just started writing. And like it was pretty powerful. And at the end it was talking about like basically, um in a roundabout way, like know that you're powerful, know that you have gifts, da, da, da. So anyways, another story about like the cards. So I was doing, when I first got all three of my decks, I put the one, like I said, they're like next to my bed and stuff. And so last night I kind of like slept with it. Well, my cat was like laying on me. And then like I just had my hand on the other one, right? Kind of slept for a while. After a while, I'm like, well, I don't want my kid to roll over on it. So I put it off to the side. But this morning I did kind of like what you're talking about. I opened it up and I was just like kind of just like going through them and looking at each one. And I had noticed that, so it has a little booklet of each card, the message, but in the very beginning, he talks about like how to use the cards, how to pull the different ones, if you want to do one card, three, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was reading at night and I grabbed a card randomly and I just stuck it in there to just hold its place. So this morning it was like, oh, like pull that card. And I was like, well, no, it was just random. Like I wasn't intentionally pulling a card. I just literally grabbed one to stick it in there. And it kept just telling me to like read the card, read the card, read the card. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll read the freaking card. Because it was upside down, like in the deck. So it was just like the background little thing. And so after I'd written like about my power and like da da da, and I turned it over and it was Mother Mary. And at the very bottom, I don't remember the first part, but it was like, be, don't be in fear of how powerful you are, something like that. And I was like, wow. I was like, that was pretty cool. And then I did, because when I got to the clarity piece that Yuki talks about, I would get stuck and I'm like, man, I don't freaking know. I don't know, right? Because so I literally just started writing like all the thoughts that I've been circling, like all the negativity, like just, and I just kept going and going and going and going a whole page. And then I literally crossed it out and I wrote lies. And then I wrote kind of like there's a little paragraph down here that was like affirming, like it's all a lie, like da da da. But together I release all this, right? It's gone, the lies are gone, so it is, right? And at first I was like, well, I'm gonna, I don't know if you saw in the chat last night on the call, but, or no, I talked about it, never mind, about the bless and release, right? Where you like
Yeah.
your old stuff and you burn it. And I was like, well, I'm gonna burn it. And then I was like, you know what? It might actually be helpful because I'm such a visual person to keep this. So when some of this stuff comes up, I can look at it because there's something so powerful about like writing this stuff and hearing it in your head of like who you think you are. And then to have it like in big bold like lies crossed out, right? Just like you would if somebody else were to write something about you and you'd be like lie, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hang on to this for a little while. It's like just a visual for myself. I don't know. But that was a really helpful exercise. Eventually I'll probably burn it, um but yeah, it's just been an overall like a really, and then it helped shift like, and then I went through the clarity piece and it was like it was just kind of flowing. So I think I'm actually gonna do that every morning. I'm gonna wake up to a blank sheet of paper and just sit quietly because I realized that like I've just been consuming so much stuff, you know. And but I thought because it was like powerful, like, you know, positive stuff, right? Well, it's meditation music. Well, it's this. Well, it's that, you know, that I'm like, okay, well that this is different. Like, you know,
Well,
and
there
they're
is
all
a,
helpful, but I think there's
yeah,
also time to sit and just, you know,
there's balance, right? It's
yes, yes,
there,
exactly.
and that's following the intuition on consumption versus silence, because like there's peace in music, there is
Yes, exactly.
growth in frequency there, you know, like overall we're like looking to raise our vibration, and sometimes to get to that vibration, listening to that vibration is a good way to instill it into us. and and I've been this, and I realized like up until now I have always meditated with a sound or a guided meditation.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I still had some silence, like I still took silent time, and I actually, anytime I do my writing, it's always within a silent, you know, space. So it wasn't like I've done nothing in silence, because I'm very like, I, that practice that you just talked about, I've, that's one of the practice that I've started with, and like it's something that I even, I believe it's part of the journal, and that's why the journaling is so big for me in
Mhm.
my program, because I know that for myself, like when I come out of a meditation, whether it's guided, not guided, like there's a lot of information that is there to come out, and then the power in writing down the dreams, and then the actually like questioning, like putting that question out there to your guides, and so on. So it's very, you know, it's finding that balance, or it's, you know, maybe there isn't even a balance to be found, maybe it's that listening to that intuitive hit, you
Yep.
know, should I, you know, should I be listening to something today, and I say should loosely, because if we're
Yeah.
going, if we're meant to do it, if we're meant to do it, we're going to do it. Am I
Yeah.
meant to be
Yeah.
listening to something today, or am I meant to be within silence, or is there going to be a mix of both today?
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been finding that like in the morning, because I would normally get up, like I set my alarm for 6 a.m., and then for an hour I go into like a meditative space, but it's always like guided or with music. I have been using that space to do just breathing, and it's been in silence. There's no thoughts, there's no expectation that comes from it. I'm not expecting to take anything from it. I just practice breathing, and just mindful breathing, just conscious breathing. And it normally takes me like far off places. And like I remembered my dream from a couple nights ago that came within that space, because I didn't remember any of my dreams leading up to that. Again, like it's been a really weird week for that. I haven't, since I've changed my meditative space, since you know, and I'm like, but they're clear when I'm in there. I know that I'm sleeping. I know that I'm dreaming. I know that I'm experiencing
Hmm.
something. As soon as my eyes are open, there's not even a space of time to write it down. It's just
Yeah.
gone.
Hmm.
And so like listening to you say like, but okay, yeah, I, your dream about the toilets.
Yeah.
Okay,
But interestingly enough, there weren't toilets in there.
okay, just
But I mean the stalls, yeah. Like it was a
so,
bathroom, but yeah.
okay, so for months, months in my journals, bathrooms were my thing. Don't know what the heck, that there was half cut stalls, so I couldn't, like I didn't want to go to the bathroom because people would stare at me while I'm pooping, right?
Yeah.
Or like, or there would be no stalls left except for the one stall that was open to the public to see. There was um it was so crazy that like every day I look at Brandon and be like, I dreamt about toilets again. I dreamt about
Wow.
stalls again, bathrooms. So I couldn't help but laugh that you're like, oh, I dreamt about a bathroom and a stall. I love that yours are teleportation. Mine was literally like wanting privacy in a bathroom. I don't know. Like there was such significance that like, but I know the significance was probably bigger than I was even grasping at the time of writing down these dreams of being in like half stalls, quarter stalls, full
Mm.
stalls, like, and then all of a sudden you're like, I dreamt about stalls, bathroom stalls, and I'm like, no freaking way. I'm like, we're back to
Wow.
bathroom stalls, like really? I like the
Yeah.
teleportation though, and it actually made me think of Harry Potter because I think it's Harry Potter where they like stand in the toilet and flush and they like go down and it's like they're teleporting to somewhere else. I know they do that in a toilet. I think they do that one in a toilet and there's one in uh a fireplace is the different ways that they can teleport
Yeah.
in Harry
I've
Potter,
only
I
seen
believe.
like one part of one, and I think one part of one of the Harry Potters, and I saw the fireplace one. I'm not sure about the toilet
Yeah,
one.
they may not be Harry Potter, but I know there was one where it's like you get flushed down a toilet.
Hmm.
It just made me think of Harry Potter. So it could have been, it's been a minute since I've watched all the movies, but I just remember like, and I can see it in my head that they're like getting flushed and they're like circling down. And then there's one in a phone booth as well. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna have to look up that one, but I know they were all like different ways to teleport. So I'm like, maybe that's what I was meant to be doing in my bathroom stalls, but instead I was just worried about like being seen pooping. I
Mm.
don't know.
Well, I mean, if you think of like even like okay, like Superman, right? He'd go in like what the telephone thing, telephone
Yeah.
booth, like stuff like that.
Doctor Who is a police box and the TARDIS, which is bigger on the inside. That's always my favorite.
Yeah. So yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
It just made me laugh because it literally it took me back to like this pile of dreams. It was like once every 2 days I was dreaming that I was like having to go into a public washroom and there was like issues with the stalls or like there were half stalls or there was actually one there was no toilet in the stall and I'm like why the hell do you even have a stall in a public washroom if there's no toilet in it, like
oh
what are we
wow.
supposed to do with that?
Hmm. Interesting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I
Yeah,
totally.
mine has no toilets. Like, and I don't. It's interesting that like when I'm in the dream, how do I explain this? Like when I'm in the dream, I'm like, oh, this is vivid. I'm gonna remember this.
Yeah.
But then when I wake up, I'm like, crap. Like, so I remembered a large portion of it, but like I said, I remember going in there with somebody, um, and then like there's a teleportation. So then I remember when I was in it, the feeling of like knowing what I was teleporting to. And I literally remember feeling like, oh, this is really cool. This is interesting. But then as soon as I wake up, that part of it is like gone. So
Yeah.
then, like I said, I don't know what teleportation in terms of like take you somewhere. Does it take you a different time? Like metaphorically, like I don't really know. But yeah, it was just really weird. And I remember at one point, like I went in and it seemed to be a person, like you kind of buckle them in, but it's almost like I'm trying to see if I like like the part that like so a door, right? Like here's the frame and then the door and like the hinges. Oh, the hinges, right? Like you have three hinges on a door. It was
Yeah.
almost like hinges that you like kind of buckle this person in. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Oh,
But
okay.
then so I felt like it was a person that I was like buckling them in with all these like, you know, latches or whatever. But then when I looked down again, it was like a doll. So then I was
Hmm.
like, okay, what does that mean? But yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Um,
That is really interesting. And I mean, and like I say, like I've been told in a reading that, the Octarian Council takes me to teach me. So how do I get to them? So when I think of you talking about like teleportation and that's really what comes to mind is
yeah.
um being taken essentially being taken by aliens to be trained and taught, or like almost like deprogrammed or whatever, like just
Mhm.
essentially having your memories reinstalled and that you're just waiting for that trigger moment for all of those memories to come in.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that resonates, and the reason why when I wake up, it's not as vivid as I had felt
Because yeah, it
it
was
was.
but yeah, yeah, that's how my last 3 nights have been, and it's and then, like, and I was going through waves because, like, I mean, I always ask, if there's any information, give it to me clearly, in my
Mhm.
dreams, so I can, easily wake up and write it down, that it stays with me. And I haven't really been setting that intention so clearly, but I mean, I didn't have to continue to reset that intention, because that's just like my overall intention of going to sleep and dreaming has been that. And like I say, the last 3 days, it's like I know where I'm at. Like I know I'm having, like, it's super, like I might as well be awake. That's how clear it is when I'm there.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
open my eyes and nothing. It's like
yeah.
there was a couple, like there was and I also haven't been sleeping through the night fully like I was. I mean, I had stopped waking up at 3 or 2 a.m., and now I'm back to waking up at 2 or 3. And I mean, part of that is because, again, it's summertime and the cat's outside. And but she didn't even come home to wake me up last night, because I figured, like I said, I think she was hurt for getting whatever happened to her face.
Mhm.
um but like I woke up and called her, and she answered as soon as we called, so that was good. And but yeah, it was just, I haven't been, I mean, but I feel like I'm sleeping well enough, like I feel rested. Like I've noticed that I've been yawning a lot here, but I'm just assuming that
Me
there's just a
too.
lot of energy moving at this point. And but yeah, it's been weird to go for like months upon months upon months, where like I have dreams, like all of my paperwork, all of my journals, all of my papers full of my dreams, with like a
Yeah,
journal beside it. um and so to not remember my dreams all of a sudden, like it's obvious, it, like, to me there's like an obvious, like, meaning behind that. So,
mhm.
but I say it's an obvious meaning, but it might be obvious in a couple days when we talk again. But it's not like
Yeah.
obvious like right in this
Obvious
moment.
at
I'm like,
not obvious
oh
at the
no.
moment, yeah.
Yeah, like this particular moment doesn't actually, like, there is no clarity on like why my dreams are literally like I'm so actively there, but then I wake up and I'm just not. But
Yeah.
the oh, okay, but this was like an interesting thought. Okay, because they say that as you're preparing, because there's a conscious breakdown between what you're creating in the 5D versus what's going on in the 3D. And that in
Mm,
order for your logical mind to accept the change in the 3D, that your dreams, and that you will actually have visions and knowing, and that you'll actually spend time in your new reality before it ends up being your new reality. That way
yeah,
it doesn't feel foreign. That way it's naturally progressing. And that's how it might not even come through as deja vu, but how you know what steps to take. Like you're already taking the steps, you're already creating the actions, you're actually living through your next days, which is
yeah.
why you wake up and not actually remember. And I don't, yeah, that just kind of like flooded, it hit me like a ton of bricks there. So
Mhm.
so that's an interesting thought as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like our new identity has to change in our dreams too?
I think it's a space that they can give us like the knowledge of like what to do next, how the changes are going to look. That way, like when it manifests, because if like um so one of the things, and actually this is kind of where my brain went as well, brought me to this person. And I've been, I don't know how they have come up. There have been glitches in the matrix, okay? And this girl, she was talking about this, like the time that she woke up and all of a sudden had a brother, and she was an only child. And
Mm,
what had happened was she went on this trip, and it was like a ferry trip to I think she said to Spain or somewhere. I'm not sure where she was from, but regardless, it was like about a ferry ride to go on this class trip with her peers. And she signed the consent form, and she was on her way. Her parents dropped her off. She's on this boat. She said she kept going to sleep, and feeling like something was off, like she wasn't remembering what was in her dream, but just feeling like everything felt a little bit differently. And this is where I'm like, okay, they're like, like it's kind of how I'm feeling. So this is maybe this is why this is so like making sense to me now. But she said that um she couldn't sleep, or she was like scared to sleep, so she went, she had dinner with everybody because she kept feeling like she needed to go to bed, like she needed to go to sleep. And so she
Yeah.
went, she had dinner with everybody, and then she was like finally calm enough that she went to sleep. But when she woke up, she said it was like a flash of light, and she wasn't on the ship anymore. She was in her bed, and she recognized her bed, she recognized her room, but in her room was a second bed with a boy sleeping in it. And she
Mm,
goes, she instantly knew that it was her brother,
yeah.
and she still panicked because like things are hers but not hers, and
Yeah.
she's like, I'm an only child, like how do I have a brother? This is
Wow.
my room, but there is now a brother in my room. Like she's like, it wasn't like I woke up married to somebody or anything like that. Like it was
Yeah.
like she was too young for that, obviously. I think she would have been like 13, 14 in
Yeah.
that age group when this happened. She said she got up and she went into the kitchen where her mom was sitting solemnly staring at a TV and said, honey, I need you to sit down. The ferry that your friends were on crashed and they don't know how bad it is. And she's like, I was on that ferry. And
Wow.
like, you know, and so like, and yeah, and you know, and I just tingled all over talking about her story. So, you know, it's like, yeah, a really very interesting concept,
Wow.
the quantum immortality that they've been talking about.
Mm,
And I've recognized like, and I said this before, I had said this to Brandon before because my friend's dad had died, and and honestly I only hit Facebook, and when I hit Facebook it's because there's a message from somebody that needs to get to somebody else, and that's like
mm,
literally, unless I'm doing my lives, that's the only time I open up Facebook, it seems. And I'm like, I'm not feeling him. I'm like, he must be stuck in that like space of deciding of what how he's going to proceed in his lesson. I said I don't think he actually successfully completed his lesson here, and that
yeah.
he's deciding on his next course of action. And like a week later she messages again, and he's like, yeah, I've chosen to stay in spirit time so I can be with her and help guide her through this part of his life, so or part of her life. So I instantly bring that message to her. But like, I'm like, yeah, he's like stuck somewhere in the abyss at this point, like he doesn't know which way to go or what he
Mm,
wants to do. But I wasn't sure because I know that there's a sense of purgatory that can happen if we don't know that we died and we've lived a really negative life. We can end up waking up and we still have to choose to be a good person. We still have to choose to want to be different before our angels and our guides can pull us out of that.
mm.
And but for the most part, it's like we die, we go through our life, you know, we see what we did. It makes me think of Twice in a Lifetime. I don't know if you've ever seen that show, but
Mm.
I've one of my favorites. I don't know if it ever hit the American screens, but it might have even been Canada made because it was not like the most like fancy show out there, but I remember watching it. So I would Google that, Twice in a Lifetime. One of my favorite things that I've watched.
Oh, that
Um,
sounds so cool.
yeah. So basically, it was like when you die, you go to the judge, and the judge talks about you if you had any regrets,
Mm.
and you know, and then you get 3 days to go to yourself as somebody else in that moment to change your life,
Oh, wow.
and to see the error of your ways. And then if you like, and then like if you and I never don't think I ever seen one that they failed in
Right.
actually in that recreation of themselves. But it's like you're going in as this person, you have 3 days to convince yourself to be a better you.
Mm.
And then you just and then when you succeed, you don't necessarily die at that point where you had just died, so you end up going back into yourself, all of your memories, all of your new memories, because they wouldn't be yours yet, so all of your new memories flood to you before your awareness is back into your body.
Wow. That sounds really
Eh,
cool. Twice in a
right, and I
lifetime.
used to think like, man, that would be really cool. Like I wonder, you know, if that could really be a thing. And then I was sitting here today going, I think that's really a thing, because the amount of times where I know that I've like died or should have died, and in saying should have died, I probably died on a timeline and woke up in a different timeline close to the timeline that I was in.
Right?
And yeah, I think there's a new fire. A whole bunch of smoke just poured over us. Not to get off topic.
Wow.
But yeah, like it wasn't the smoking, like literally the wind picked up and now all of a sudden it's like there's a I'm just watching everything kind of disappear by the city. So yeah, there must be I'm gonna have to look and see. Or just like the wind shifted direction because there's a really big fire between Alberta and BC right now. And
Mm,
it's got a whole bunch of spaces evacuated and whatnot. So and
mm,
it is a really breezy day, which isn't the nice thing is though is the weather is about to shift and everything's supposed to cool down or we're supposed to get some rain. So
mm. I've been smelling like smoke lately, like, which is weird because there's no fires, so I don't know. Like, I'll
Canada,
open the door and
Canada,
I'm like,
they're
is
coming.
there
It's
fire?
coming from Canada. It's blowing far enough that they're actually smelling in Europe as well.
Wow, that's wild.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you're talking about like yawning, and I'm like, and maybe it's just because I don't want to say going, but like I was kind of intentionally doing stuff, and then now I'm kind of just sitting and not. I mean, obviously we're talking, but I'm not really like. Hold on one. Uh, this is my son. Anyways, but now like yes, we're talking, but I'm not like
You're not
uh,
moving, and
but
yeah,
I'm like I'm like out of nowhere. Like I said yesterday, like just the feeling of like um which we had talked about on the call that I had yesterday, just like the energy, like it's just like boom, like it just hits you like a ton of bricks where you're just like just
yeah.
doubt like that people were talking about like, taking naps and like, I'm not even the person that naps, like just different stuff because like the energy is just like shifting so much that it's just like, yeah.
I've had like
But
probably three. Like when my pain was really bad, I mean, all I did I felt like was nap.
Yes.
Um, After my pain lifted, I didn't like I haven't we've maybe had like three naps. And today maybe number four. Like but yeah, like I say, like but then there's also that again cause and effect. If you're going through such big shifts and you like and I mean my like I can feel like when I do this, like my hand tingles, like I don't have to work my energy and like I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
it's an interesting feeling to like do this right now because it's just so much vibration. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it is really and it makes sense. And if you listen to the needing of the maps, because sometimes that's the intuitive hit. Have a nap. Let the energy like process, because that if you don't process, I okay, I understand. If you don't process, that's generally when they make you sick. Like in
Mm,
December when I ended up with food poisoning because I
yeah.
wouldn't rest. They're like, stop doing. And I'm like, I don't, what do you mean? I don't know how to stop doing. Well, we're gonna make
Yeah.
you stop doing. Here's some food poisoning. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Dicks.
Yeah.
Um, and
100%.
then February again, like the big like that, like I had a really big shift in February and I know it hit. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't slow down. I didn't stop doing. So I ended up super, super sick where I couldn't open my eyes. So guess what I didn't do? I didn't do anything.
That's funny, but not
Um,
funny.
right?
Speaking of hands, like something that's I've noticed, it's been probably maybe like 3 days. So it's my left thumb will, again, I use the term random loosely, just in that I'm not at the awareness of why or like when, but like it will twitch. It's only this one.
Hmm.
And it just like it's very kind of I'm doing it now, but like just
Yeah.
to show you kind of like, and it doesn't really matter. Like I could have my hand on like I had my hand on like the door frame and it was kind of just going like this. Or like earlier, like I had my hand just like this and it's just like twitching, or last night when we are on the call, and it's just like I don't know if you saw us in the camera, but I'm like, oh my God, I was like, look at my finger, look at my finger. And it's just randomly, and like I'm not feeling any sort of way anxious or like anything like that. And it's just the left one. It's been really, and obviously it's not painful. It's nothing that's like bothering me. It's really interesting because I've never really had anything like that. So I was like, okay, left side, is left side feminine?
Okay, so for me, I see everything backwards, and I don't know why this is. So for me,
Yeah.
when I'm like doing readings and it's left side, it's father, but for like my teacher, she was left side mother. So like I mirror image. I don't, it's not, so like if I'm, yeah, so I mirror image in that, like, but like if somebody's hurting on their left side, like it'll like show me that on the left side, so I get it right that way. But when I'm doing my readings, they're absolutely backwards. Even like
Mhm.
when I realize that I read my chakras backwards, like upside down. Like when
Wow.
I'm reading auras, I will have all the messages right, but people are like, well, you read that from top to bottom. Like when I see um a connection to God and our higher selves, it comes through as yellow and orange, which is your sacral and your
Hmm.
solar plexus. And then higher selves come through a lot to me as purple. And because like the connection comes through as yellow and orange, and then the higher self themselves comes through as purple, which is getting right here, which makes sense because this is like
Hmm.
purple. Well, this
Yeah.
is purple and this is fuchsia, which is generally another shade of purple. And
Purple,
then your
yeah.
throat is blue, right? So I see everything. It's all like, I don't know, it's all upside down and twisted to me. But then again, it makes sense because nothing's like as linear and straight as we make it. So it's circular. So if I draw it
Hmm.
in a circle, the way that I see our patterns circular, which is
Mm.
really interesting to think about. Um, I would say that if it feels like your body's randomly doing it, I would feel for a touch because I feel like it, like essentially what came through was like we're getting her attention.
Hmm.
And right, so they're moving your thumb, so it's nothing wrong with your body. There's, like you
Yeah.
said, there's no pain, there's nothing there to actually like seemfully make it happen. They're like, we're getting her attention. So that would be something to journal on, like, especially when it happens, it's like, oh, what do I need to know right now,
Mm-hmm.
and see what comes
Yeah.
through. Because yeah, if
Yeah.
they're tugging on your thumb, yeah, to me it just feels like a message. Like there
Hmm.
doesn't feel like any, like there's no pain coming to me, like there's no like random feelings. It feels like it's coming from your third eye. So it's almost like you're like the embodiment of your higher self, and she's letting you know that you're embodying her.
Same. Yeah, I do feel
So
kind of like um how do I explain it? The word integration wants to come in again.
yeah.
Like the integration of like my spiritual gifts. Cause like when it happened, it was actually kind of cool because I'm like, well, like a little kid that you're like, oh, like whatever. But but yeah, and then also too, what I was thinking is like what because like angel numbers are cool, and I started writing them down.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, Rustin's like, well, what do they mean? And I was like, dude, I don't know. And he's like, well, isn't that part of the importance of and I'm like, oh, I guess. So like now, no, I'm just kidding. I mean, it does. But
I totally get it though, because I Google is my best
because I
friend
just
when it
wasn't
comes to
paying
that.
attention.
Yeah.
Like to the awareness of, so now I've been very like kind of honed in on like, okay, I see 333. Quick, what were you thinking? What were you saying? What were you talking about? You know what I mean? Or whatever. Like what was somebody else saying? Because it doesn't even necessarily have to be like what I was saying, but like if I saw, like I actually wrote it down while you were talking, um,
Yeah.
because you said new memories and it was 333 here. So I was like,
Oh
okay,
shit.
so like, right, so like I wrote that down because it doesn't even necessarily have to be what I was thinking, but the fact of like new memories, and then I happened to look right down to 333, right? So, anyways, that
Yeah.
with that, but then two, when I said seemingly random in my head too, I was like, next time it happens, be aware of what you're thinking, what somebody's saying, right? Like, what did you say when that happened, right? Or whatever, in order for the message. Yeah, because I feel, yeah, it's not like all the time. It's just it's kind of yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly, right. And I think, and you saying that, that's something that like registered as like, okay, do like it was almost like, did you hear that? And like, yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
Okay.
Like because yeah, taking your awareness back to actually what's going on around you when
Hmm.
that stuff is coming through. Yeah, definitely, a strong message, even right now for me. So I just decided to pull a card, and I have to laugh again. I have to laugh because I'm looking at us and we're just about to summer.
Yeah, summer solstice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoop.
So
Oh,
this is the spring guardian of summer expansion. Oh, come on. Unblur. I might have to unblur my camera. Hold on.
oh.
Let me do this.
I was like, I got it when you put it in front of your face.
I know. Here, let me just background in effects. None.
There we go.
No, you can see my home. All right.
Very great. Wow,
Okay.
are those like apples or something on the tree?
Yes. Apples or oranges? I think they're apples. And then like the
Wow.
little yellow bird there. And the
Oh,
little yellow bird there.
exactly, exactly. Okay, it
Okay,
doesn't
so
have a
then
yellow beak, but still.
no, but still, it's still a yellow bird.
Wow.
I was like,
Can't
where'd the
make
bird
that up.
go? So then it says, then I always look at the bottom of the deck. And we are, of course, leaving spring.
Wow, Spirit Guardian Spring activation.
Yeah. So this one kind of popped out of the deck, and then I always get guided to look at the bottom of the deck. So this
Okay, so
was the
you're talking
actual.
about, okay, so not to interrupt you, but I just want to catch that. So you're talking about like my deck's not in here, it's out there. So you just take it out and then you pull whatever card from wherever, and then you're talking about you literally just flip it in that card?
So yes.
Or
So I
okay.
shuffle. I'll just shuffle,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
a lot of times like a
Mhm.
cards will just start flying out.
Yeah.
And then like I said earlier today, it was like, look at the bottom. So I looked at the bottom, and then it
Oh
was
yeah.
like the fire and water, right? So this one
Yeah.
was, the card flew out and it was like summer. And I was like, well, that's cool. Summer is like 10 days away or 11 days away. And that's
Yeah.
expansion, which makes sense to everything
Right.
that I'm feeling and that you're feeling is just like that expansive um energy
Mm-hmm.
that's surrounding us completely. And then the spirit garden of spring is activation. And
Wow.
the thing that came up through to me in the last few days is like you activate people's gifts and you activate the expansiveness and you bring them expansion on their gifts. And it happened today with the reading I was talking about earlier,
Oh.
where she was like, I see colors. And I was like, oh, you joined me in my scene of colors. And we had done like basically kind of like a recode, and I called in her guardians and her guides, and called in my guides and guardians, which is something, I mean, like I generally just usually use my higher self through them. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know what? They want something more because I did it all intuitively today. And I told her that too. I was like, everything today is intuitive. Like everything else was planned. This is intuitive. And so the intuitive nature of it was to do a full recode, but not just to clear the emotions behind something that was holding her back. It was to actually give her a full activation within herself of her gifts. And she
Mm-hmm.
said, in all of her time that she's been meditating, and all of the guided meditations and all of the journeys, she said all she's ever seen is black. Today, all of the colors came through. So then that's when I pulled from the dragon. And that's when the water and fire dragon came out together. And then, oh, go look through the deck, was the intuitive hit. Go look through the deck and see what's in the middle. And direct, like dead center, water, water and fire dragon side by side separately. And then the five dragons that were part of her, which was like the rainbow dragon. She got the pinkish, like a dusty pink and a dusty rose. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like just like yeah, and then the black one, and I said, so you may only have seen black, but the black one actually is one of protection and helps you actually is actually present in activating and being part of your gifts starting. So like you might not have been seeing nothing, and I'm like, because every so
Mm-hmm.
often like all I see in my meditation is black, which is really unusual for me. But then it actually resonated with me as well that, oh, okay, so the black dragon is coming through, and that's that protection is like I'm just here keeping you safe, through these activations. So
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, very,
That's powerful.
very, very cool. Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah.
uh today, and I was like, and it was so funny because like I got onto Facebook, my main page yesterday, and I was like, look, this is what it is. My energy activates you. Like if you're when you're ready for activating, not I use if loosely because like I mean, after getting this far, I don't know if as in our human state that we're ever actually ready for this.
Yeah.
um
100%.
this I could see how this could make somebody really think that they were crazy fast. um but
Yeah.
it's like when you feel ready. And actually it's so funny because as I'm shuffling the two cards that got stuck again, earth and water and
Mm,
earth and fire. So
wow.
what element is your sign? You do you know?
Um,
I'm gonna go with earth or water.
oh wow. Yeah. Earth.
Earth.
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm going with your earth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So the earth and fire dragon works with you to clear fifth dimensional ley lines. It is time for service. When you give, you receive. Earth and water dragon creates the foundation for new growth. A fresh start is coming with new opportunities. Nurture your ideas and harvest the abundance.
Mm, that really resonates. And what is, hold on. Oh, never mind. Rustin's no, wait, hold on. Which side, which ones?
Earth and water and earth and fire
And Rustin's water.
and Rustin's water. That makes sense. Yeah, because that makes even more sense. The earth and water together.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Because I was thinking he was fire, and I was like, okay, well, at least the two cards, but he's water,
Yeah,
so
see, and I'm fire. So me
yeah.
and you together, earth and fire.
Wow.
And then you
Oh
and
my
him together,
gosh. You
earth
just
and water.
can't. Like you can't. Like,
You just can't.
oh man, I'm gonna have to tell him after this. That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, right? Like that's what
Wow.
I mean. And like so when I say that I've confidently stepped into my gifts, like I you can't make this shit up.
I know. Oh my goodness. Well, because when you were talking about like because obviously so I do what I do, right? And I guide and stuff like that, but it is within somebody else's program, right? So there's a little tweaking behind like what's your message, what's your this? Because yes, I have my own personal, but it's like guiding through somebody else's like program that they've created, right? So like when you were talking about what did it say for the abundance and something else? Um fresh start and something else. And so then I kind of was like, well, I mean, I'm still doing what I'm doing, right? Because I'm doing it through somebody else's program. But then I immediately was like, well, Reston. And then I'm like, well, but he's not Earth,
Right, but he's
And then
water.
I'm like, but he's
But
water.
he's
So,
but he's water. Yeah. Yeah,
and
fresh start is
especially
coming.
everything, yeah, and especially everything like that he's doing with the business and pivoting, like he's been working on the school group. And
Yeah.
because like I said, we're literally back to back. He'll be like, oh my God, look what I just created in Canva. And I'm like, well, there's no joke, other business that
Oh, I lost you.
was in alignment with for a year, but telling myself I was in alignment. He goes, this, you good? Oh,
Yeah.
it says my internet connection is unstable. That's interesting.
That
Oh,
is
let me turn off my
interesting.
Wi-Fi. Maybe that helps. But he created all these like thumbnails and like all the videos and like all this stuff for school. And he was like, when I did it for the business that I wasn't aligned with, he was like, it took me hours and it was like just agony. Like it was just like, you know what I mean, to get like one thing and I was frustrated and like whatever. He goes, I literally just did this all in like such a short period of time. He goes, it literally just flowed to me. And I
Yeah.
saw it and you'll see it eventually, but he's like, it's amazing. He's like, I think it looks great. And he's like, I just like flowed through it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So
And I feel like in stepping into my confidence, stepping into like realizing that yes, my first program made sense to do because it walked me through a whole bunch of steps that I still needed to progress through. And there's going to be people that are going to benefit from me having that first program. But I
Mm-hmm.
honestly recognize today that I am meant to activate and elevate people into their gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
um and whether that looks like group coaching again, like I mean it feels like back at the drawing board, but there's again there's an excitement to it because it
Yeah.
felt so good, like the look on her face, the excitement within her to experience the colors and the changes and the growth, just in moments, like in a three, in a 3 minute kind of small activation that I knew was going to be super powerful because like I said, I called in her guides, I called in my guides, like just all intuitively, just all right, let's go through this. And then all of those cards poured out, and like I said, you just can't, just can't
Mm-hmm.
like if there was anything still arguing with inside of me, like you can't make that shit up to pull the
Yeah.
earth and fire and the earth and water, like
Yeah.
and
100%.
to pull her card, the earth and earth and air, I think it was
Yeah.
earth and or yeah, I don't, you just can't make it up, like,
Yeah. But
you
I
know, so
think,
like there was no doubt leading
yeah.
into today, like I woke up in a different energy today, and
Mm-hmm.
then to experience it within hours of knowing,
Yeah.
what my actual purpose, what my actual, like what I'm actually here for. And I mean, and I'm here to help with mindset, I'm here to help heal and all of that things and all of those things, but I am my energy and what I know how to do will actually literally activate and elevate somebody into their gifts when they're ready,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
totally.
is a totally amazing feeling. And it's not like I haven't like really like watched it all along, like even just with me and you talking and just hearing and seeing the shifts within you, and just doing that recall with Rustin, which kind of like made me want to know for sure because he said something in the call the next day about being sad about something, letting go of something. And I was like, oh, don't get stuck in that sadness, because I did anger with him. And then he instantly was like talking about sadness. And then it clicked in
Mm.
that I was like, oh, like I like, please don't be sitting in that sadness if if it's a heavy sadness. But to hear that he's excited, like
Oh, yeah.
there's a good chance that he might not sit in that sadness, because I always have the intention of, usually anger and sadness, but I know that in doing there's a level of sadness within that anger that doesn't get um shed at that moment. So
Mm-hmm. Oh
yeah,
no, he's good. I'm not sure. I didn't catch it. But whatever it was, I don't think he's
I
no,
think
he
it
went
was
to
just
the grocery store this morning and I was like, have fun. And he's like, oh, always. I'm having fun right now. And I was like, okay. So
awesome, glad that's back. All right, good.
oh yeah, 100%. 100%. And I think it's because like all that stuff is just flowing out. You know what I mean? Because it's not that stuffy, um, well, I gotta get this done. Well, I gotta create this video. I gotta make this logo, like whatever. Um, and I think he's in the same spot. But what I was gonna say to you is like, because I totally feel you. Like when he was like, "This is my," he got clear and he was like, "This is where we're going," and I'm like, "So we have to start over." Keep that name. Well, DBA, parent company, whatever. But I'm like, essentially, we have to start all over. But I just see it as like a pivot. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and
Because
and,
well, for
yeah,
one, that's just
and
more
thankfully,
empowering. But like, yeah,
and he did, like, and I mean, and I think his choice, like, I mean, it's still marketing in a sense, like there still is like a level of marketing within what he's
yeah.
chosen to move into, but the fact that he's excited about it feels aligned, everything is flowing. Sometimes it's just those that little shift, that little
Hmm. Hmm.
elevation that needs to take place, like you being on that edge and then not stepping over that edge and whatnot.
Yeah.
So um
Yeah.
but what else, I was going to say something but I can't remember. Yeah, there's a pile of things going through my mind, but I'm not like, I know better, and learning in this last year and a bit of doing all of this, not to force it, that I'm just going to allow
Mhm.
the intuitive hits to continue, and that I know that as I get into the design and and creation I'll just add a couple like new offers, like, I will put the one-on-one coaching up there, and I will, um, just a couple, yeah, just a couple little tweaks. My original program I still love, and I know that it has its space, and that there, and that there is like, but at this point, I guess I shifted my intention to want people to be beyond that, like when they start to work with me, but that still gives me a starting point for people if they're not there yet. Okay, well, here, hop
Mhm.
into my starter program. And then from there, it's like, okay, now we're gonna, now that you're kind of stationed and stuff like that, and you kind of have an idea, if you want to even progress, because like I know there's a lot of people that start the spiritual journey and they're just not there yet. They're just not ready. And then
Yeah.
that ends up turning them off, and and they end up falling out. So my program can give a basis because it's very, very like where I started. It's exactly where I started. So it has its space. And then the people that I want to attract, the people that recognize that something has shifted within them, but they're still stuck. Like there's just like that little bit of healing that nobody seems to be able to pinpoint through everything. And like that, the work becomes endless when you're in that healing phase. And to know that I can take that and process that within a few sessions. And then, and then the final session is like activating you. So it'll be basically a 4 session coaching minimum kind of thing. And then from there, activating it faster. Did I just, yeah, I
Wow.
think I just created that next part. I might have to come back and watch this.
Why- Watch your own recording.
Watch my own recording. I
Wow.
know.
That's
Which I
really
tend to not do because then I'm like, oh, my hair looks bad. Kidding.
Oh, I love that.
But
That's really, really cool though. That's super cool.
right. Yeah, it's been like I said, like when I say the 3D changed, like because like all of this has been building up inside. When I say the 3D changed, like the 3D changed for me. So
Mhm.
it's a super exciting space to be in. I'm gonna hit the end record.
Okay.
And thank you everybody for watching and hanging out with us again and listening to our stuff. That's not the right button. I gotta find the right button. Here we go. Goodbye, everybody. Oh.